There is a quiet truth that we often overlook. A person can live their entire life waiting for a blessing, yet never realize that blessings do not always arrive wrapped in gold or whispered from heaven. Sometimes they grow in the soil of your own choices. You are not a passive receiver of life's goodness. You are a gardener, a craftsman, a steward of the very soul you carry. To bless yourself is not to crown yourself with vanity, but to align your heart with truth and your hands with action. It is to live as though your days are precious currency, each coin spent with care. The first step is to tend the inner life, for what grows within will inevitably spill into the outer world. If your thoughts are clouded with bitterness, no abundance in the world can make you rich. If your heart is lit with gratitude, even the smallest gifts will shine like treasure. Blessing yourself means choosing to forgive, not because it erases the wrong, but because it releases you from carrying a poison that was never yours to keep. It is the strange alchemy of turning wounds into wisdom, of refusing to let your scars dictate the shape of your future. When you forgive, you cut the anchor that keeps you moored in yesterday's storms, allowing the winds of grace to carry you forward. You also bless yourself by choosing what you feed your mind. A person who gorges on resentment will never know peace, just as a person who fills their hours with empty noise will never hear the quiet call of truth. Seek beauty as you would seek water in a desert. Read words that awaken. Surround yourself with people who lift. Watch for the small miracles that slip into the unnoticed corners of your days. Do not underestimate the blessing found in discipline. The easy path may spare you effort, but it rarely brings you joy worth keeping. To rise early when your bed calls you back, to finish the work when no one applauds, to speak truth when silence would cost you less. These are acts of blessing. Each moment you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you lay another stone in the foundation of a life you will be proud to stand in. To bless yourself is also to befriend silence. The world will press upon you with its endless demands, telling you who you must be and what you must have. But in the stillness, you will find a voice that is not loud but steady, not demanding but clear. It will remind you of the person you were meant to be before fear dressed you in borrowed clothing. Listen to that voice. It will not flatter you, but it will guide you toward wholeness. And perhaps the greatest way to bless yourself is to bless others. The heart is like a well. It grows deeper and clearer the more you draw from it. Acts of kindness are not debts you pay, but seeds you plant. You may not always see the harvest, but the world is different because you dared to scatter the seeds. In blessing others, you become the very vessel through which your own soul is nourished. So if you would bless yourself, do not wait for lightning to strike or fortune to smile. Begin where you stand, guard your thoughts, speak with care, work with purpose, give without measure, forgive without delay, and walk as though each step is both a gift and a responsibility. For in the end, blessings are not merely found. They are made, shaped by the hands of those who understand that life itself is the canvas, and every choice a brushstroke upon it. 1. Forgive quickly to free yourself from the weight of the past. Forgiveness is not an easy act. It is a deliberate choice that often feels unnatural to the wounded heart. When wronged, our instinct is to build walls, sharpen our words, and nurse the memory like a precious wound, rehearsing the offense in the quiet hours as if holding on to it might grant us justice. But this is the subtle lie that chains the soul. The longer you cradle the injury, the more it seeps into your thoughts, shaping your vision of the world and poisoning the well of your own peace. To forgive quickly is to release yourself from this slow drip of bitterness before it hardens into the very structure of your being. It is not pretending the wrong never happened, nor is it absolving the other of responsibility. It is simply deciding that their offense will not continue to control the climate of your inner life. Imagine carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go, one that was handed to you without your consent. At first you hold it tightly in anger, determined to remember who gave it to you. But days turn to weeks, and the stone begins to ache your hands and bend your back. Forgiveness is the moment you set the stone down, not because it was light or because it no longer mattered, but because you finally understood you could walk faster, straighter, and freer without it. The speed of forgiveness matters because wounds unhealed have a way of growing roots, tangling themselves around your identity until you cannot tell where the hurt ends and where you begin. If you delay, the act of forgiving becomes more difficult, as the offense intertwines with pride, self, pity, and the quiet satisfaction of holding the moral high ground. But when you forgive quickly, you deny the injury the time it needs to corrupt your joy. There is also a hidden courage in swift forgiveness. It requires a strength that is not loud or visible but steady and quiet. The kind of strength that refuses to be governed by the actions of another. You may still feel the sting, the disappointment, or even the anger, but you choose not to let them grow roots. You choose to step into freedom while the wound is still fresh, trusting that the healing will follow. Quick forgiveness is also an act of self-respect. It is declaring that your peace, your mental clarity, and your sense of purpose are too valuable to be surrendered to someone else's wrongdoing. This is not weakness. It is sovereignty over your own heart. It is saying, you may have wronged me, but you will not own me. And though the other person may never change, may never apologize, may never even notice your forgiveness, you will find that your own spirit is lighter, more agile, and more open to the good that is waiting ahead. To forgive quickly also protects your relationships, not just with others, but with yourself. When bitterness is allowed to grow, it does not confine itself to one offense or one person. It leaks into your view of everyone and everything, coloring your interactions with suspicion and distance. In forgiving, you keep the door open for trust to return, not blindly, but as a possibility. Even if reconciliation never happens, your heart remains free from the corrosive habit of expecting the worst. Quick forgiveness is a discipline, a habit of the soul, and like all habits, it becomes easier with practice. The first few times it may feel impossible, as though you are giving away something you should protect. But over time, you learn that you are not giving away your dignity or your justice. You are reclaiming your wholeness. Forgiveness does not mean placing yourself back in harm's way or ignoring the lessons learned from the pain. It simply means you will not let yesterday dictate the quality of today. There will be moments when forgiveness feels like an empty choice, when you release the offense but still feel the ache. This is where patience and faith walk alongside forgiveness. The act of letting go plants the seed. The healing comes in its own time. And when you practice this habit enough, you will find that your heart grows more resilient, more compassionate, and paradoxically, stronger than it was before the wound. In forgiving quickly, you do more than release the one who wronged you. You free yourself from living as a prisoner of the past, unlocking the door to a future where your joy is not determined by the failures of others, but by the strength of your own spirit too. Feed your mind and heart with truth, beauty, and gratitude. What you allow into your mind and heart shapes the world you live in more than circumstances ever could. The human spirit is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant will grow, whether it is beauty or weeds. If you feed yourself with bitterness, cynicism, and constant complaint, you should not be surprised when joy becomes scarce and hope fades into the background. But if you choose to feed your inner life with truth, beauty, and gratitude, you will find that even in hard seasons, your soul remains alive and steady. Truth is the anchor in a world full of shifting sands. Without it, your thoughts drift aimlessly, swayed by the loudest voices and the most urgent distractions. Feeding yourself with truth means seeking what is real, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it demands that you change. It means refusing to settle for half-truths or comforting lies that numb your conscience. Truth sharpens the mind and strengthens the will, keeping you from being tossed by every passing opinion or fleeting feeling. It is the light by which you see the world clearly and the mirror that shows you who you really are. Beauty, though often underestimated, is not mere decoration for life, it is nourishment for the soul. A person who trains their eyes to see beauty in the small things will never be entirely poor. It can be found in the way sunlight falls across a quiet street, in the rhythm of rain tapping against a window, in the sincerity of a smile offered without reason. Feeding your heart with beauty does not mean escaping reality. It means finding the golden threads woven through it, even when the fabric of life is worn and frayed. Beauty lifts the spirit, making it easier to bear the weight of life's trials, and it reminds you that goodness still exists, waiting to be noticed. Gratitude is the lens that changes the way you see everything. Without it, even abundance can feel empty. With it, even scarcity can hold sweetness. Gratitude feeds the heart with a steady stream of joy because it teaches you to measure your life not by what is missing, but by what is present. It is not simply about saying thank you for obvious blessings. It is about learning to recognize the quiet mercies that others overlook. A meal shared, a kind word at the right moment, the health to take another breath. These are treasures hidden in plain sight. Feeding your mind and heart is not a passive act. It requires guarding what you allow to take root within you. Just as a diet shapes the strength and health of the body, the mental and spiritual diet you consume shapes the strength of your soul. If you constantly take in negativity, be it through the company you keep, the voices you listen to, or the thoughts you entertain, you will find yourself weighed down by a heaviness you cannot explain. But if you fill your days with words that inspire, music that uplifts, conversations that challenge you to grow, and moments that draw you closer to what is good, you will be building an inner world capable of withstanding outer storms. This does not mean ignoring the darkness in life. Pretending it does not exist is not nourishment. It is avoidance. Rather, it means choosing what you dwell on. You can acknowledge pain without feeding it. You can recognize injustice without letting it consume your hope. You can walk through difficulty without letting it plant seeds of despair. It is about deciding what will take up permanent residence in your mind and heart. The discipline of feeding yourself with truth, beauty, and gratitude will shape your character. Over time, it will make you someone who is not easily shaken, someone who can see clearly, love deeply, and endure patiently. It will make you a source of light for others, not because you ignore reality, but because you see it through a lens that finds meaning, grace, and possibility even in shadows. What you choose to feed your inner life with will not just change how you feel, it will change who you are, how you act, and how you leave your mark on the world. 3. Bless others generously, for in giving you receive. There is a mysterious law woven into the fabric of life. What you give away returns to you in ways you cannot predict. Blessing others generously is not merely an act of charity. It is a way of shaping the world you live in and shaping yourself in the process. Generosity is not measured only in coins or possessions. It flows from the spirit. A kind word at the right moment can lift a burden you never knew another carried. A patient ear can become a refuge for someone drowning in loneliness. A silent prayer for someone you may never meet can ripple into places your feet will never walk. When you choose to bless others without calculating what you will gain, you place yourself in the stream of a greater design, one in which giving and receiving are threads of the same tapestry. To bless others generously is to acknowledge that you are not diminished by what you give. In fact, your capacity to give often grows the more you use it. Like a well that refills as water flows from it, the heart finds itself replenished when it pours into the lives of others. The world will often teach you to guard, to withhold, to protect your resources at all costs, fearing they will run out. But the paradox is that those who give freely often discover they have more than they imagine, not always in material wealth, but in joy, peace, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you have been a part of someone else's healing or hope. Generosity requires a certain vision. It looks beyond the surface, seeing not just what a person is, but what they could be if given a moment of grace. It listens not only to the words spoken, but to the unspoken cries beneath them. It acts not only when convenient, but when it requires a bending of one's own comfort. To bless others generously is to carry within you the awareness that life is fragile, that every person you meet is engaged in a battle you may never see, and that even the smallest kindness can be the turning point in someone's day or in their life. It is easy to give when you have abundance, when your own life feels secure and comfortable. The deeper test of generosity comes when you feel the pinch of your own limitations, yet still choose to extend your hand. There is a sacred beauty in giving from a place of sacrifice, not because you are trying to earn anything, but because you understand that love is not love until it costs you something. Such acts leave an imprint not only on the recipient, but on your own soul, carving into it a deeper capacity for empathy and compassion. Generosity also has the power to break cycles. A world filled with greed, competition, and self-preservation can be interrupted by even one act of undeserved kindness. When you bless others without demanding repayment, you plant a seed of trust in a soil that has been hardened by cynicism. The one who receives may in turn give to another, and the chain continues, often reaching places and people far beyond your knowledge. This is the unseen legacy of blessing others generously. You start a movement without even knowing it. Blessing others is not about grand gestures alone. While large acts of charity can certainly change lives, it is often the quiet, consistent acts that create lasting impact. Visiting someone who feels forgotten, offering encouragement when hope runs thin, sharing what little you have with someone who has even less. These are the daily blessings that, though small in the eyes of the world, are monumental in the economy of the heart. Generosity is not a performance for the approval of others. The most powerful blessings are often given in secret, where no applause follows, and no one but you and the recipient ever know. This kind of giving purifies the motive, stripping it of pride and leaving only the desire to love well. It is in these hidden moments that generosity most deeply shapes the giver, teaching humility, sincerity, and the quiet joy of doing good for its own sake. There will be times when your generosity is met with ingratitude, suspicion, or even rejection. In those moments, the temptation is to withdraw, to close the hand that once gave freely. But true generosity is not transactional. It is rooted in the understanding that you give because it is who you are, not because of how others respond. In continuing to bless others despite their reaction, you protect your heart from becoming hardened and keep the channels of grace open in your life. The act of blessing others generously is, in the end, a reflection of how you see the world. If you see life as a finite pie, you will guard your slice carefully. But if you see life as an ever-flowing river, you will understand that the water you pour out will return to you in unexpected streams. The more you give, the more space you create for new blessings to find their way to you, often in forms you did not expect, and at times you did not anticipate.